What are some of the craziest things you've seen people get upset about in D&D? Video games, board games, ECT. D&D, DM's girlfriend couldn't burn a town to the ground when a commoner slammed a door in her character's face. The rest of the party countered all of her attempts to burn that mofo down. She was used to getting what she wanted and being the center of attention. But when she whined to her DM boyfriend that we weren't letting her have her way, he just shrugged. Burning the town down for petty spite derailed the campaign, and we stopped the fire by using the rules appropriately. She then moved on to covertly attempting to assassinate players who had worked against her, which also didn't work. That group didn't last long, but we did have a bit of fun constantly trying to shut the DM's girlfriend down. I once had someone knock all the pieces off the table and toss the Monopoly board off the table because someone took all the small houses and just stockpiled them without upgrading to hotels. So we would run out and no one could upgrade their own property. When 5th edition came out, I was still pretty inexperienced at D&D. But whatever, we had a gathering to play a one-off tutorial campaign with pre-made characters. I decided to be the healer, who also had some damage spells. Anyways, in the first encounter, I used a 3x3 cube attack on an area to kill the 4 remaining monsters, forgetting that the spell would also hit my allies in the area. 2 of them. One saved, the other didn't, but both lived. Me, crap. Sorry, I forgot. Oh well, I can heal you. Angry dude, out of character. No, you're a piece of crap. Me, in sorry it was an accident. Angry dude, heal me you bish. Me, I'll heal you when you calm down. It's just a game. Angry dude, I'm attacking him. He attacks. He hits. Heal me now. Me, well I'm definitely not healing you now. Angry dude, I attack him again. He crits. I'm at 0 HP. Me, looking at the other players, you guys are just gonna let him kill the healer. The party tries to stop him but rolls horribly, so he delivers the killing blow. Me, alright then. I leave to my room. Got to play 5th edition for about 10 minutes. Texas Hold'em at a casino. Got dealt a cab and the dealer is to my left, so I bet last. King ace come out on the flop. I flopped a full house, all but one guy fold. The next card is a jack. Other guy raises, I call. An ace comes on the river, giving me 4 aces. He raises and I raise the maximum bet. He calls and slaps 2 kings on the table exclaiming kings full. Grinning ear to ear. I show my cards and his grin melts away and he's mad. He gets up, paces back and forth a few times, and then kicked his chair yelling frick. Then security escorted him out while I counted my winnings. It was at a quarters maximum table. I think he lost like $30. My 2 older brothers, around 13, 16 then, and I were playing a Mario Party. Oldest brother got so mad that my other brother was winning that he screamed through the controller, then ran downstairs. He then booted up the PC and our shared WoW account and threatened to delete my brother's maximum level 60 main. When the younger brother came to stop him, he pulled up scissors and threatened to stab him. No stabbings occurred and no characters ended up being deleted after some calming down, thankfully, and that's the last time we played Mario Party with my oldest brother. Worst of it, he wasn't even in last place. I was behind the AI. My friends and I have absolutely freaked out playing Mario Baseball on GameCube. That game is harder than most things when played as a group. The NPCs know when you start winning and beat the crap out of you when it happens. Had a friend in high school stop talking to me over video games. After a week I thought, man, he's committed to this bit. But now it's been 13 years, so I think this is a real thing. I used to play Pokemon TCG competitively when I first started playing, and I was at my first regional tournament. This player, he was 14 over 15. I must have been about 10 over 11, was shouting in tears over the fact he thought, in his opinion, that his opponent had cheated. He was going crazy, screaming and crying and saying this player should be kicked, etc. Turns out what happened was at a clutch point in the game his opponent was shuffling his own hand around, basically flicking the cards between themselves. It's a great way to funnel your nerves and a nice repetitive motion to channel energy into, and the player felt that he was doing that deliberately to distract him. I can assure you he wasn't. Players do this as habit for the reason I said above. As a result of being distracted, the player made a game costing misplay. I've seen people get more angry and crazy at the game before, but not to anything as trivial as this. People get mad over luck, themselves and actual cheating all the time, but this one always stands out to me as just over the top completely. My friend broke my controller when I tapped him out on the UFC game. We had similar experience with the game, and he said that submissions were cheating, then refused to give me the $60 for a new one. I had a player's girlfriend who had quit the game get really upset that the other players weren't doing it right. We were having fun. The DM hadn't said anything. We weren't having difficulty requiring bailout. We just were upping in ways she didn't approve of. My team mom paladin who worshipped her goddess through cooking food connected to her backstory and DM approved. For example, should just focus on smiting things instead of comforting other characters after trauma by making them soup. Guess what? Kimmy. I got bonus EXP for that soup RP. Saw a kid flip a table over for losing in UGIO. Dungeon Master got angry that I wanted my bear, Senor Ozo. I was a ranger to speak a mystical, fake language, Spanish, but nobody would understand him. He said no. The group protested. It evolved into a huge fight and he broke up the party. Senor Ozo. 10 extrano. My local game store was running an open game of MERP, Middle-earth roleplay. We're all running through some pretty traditional scenarios. It being Tolkien and all, giant rats, butts, etc. At low levels especially, these things can be dangerous. And the GM is doing a great job of setting the scene for us. Well, one guy is just snarking the entire time about how boring and generic the game is. Getting on everyone's nerves at this point. Well, a decent way into the game, he decides to just start attacking the other players in the middle of a fight. We're all reasonably calling him on it. He just keeps attacking until we have no choice but to counter and kill his character. He just gets up, thanks us for letting him out, tells us to enjoy our stock fantasy garbage, and leaves the store. What a douche. Probably when I got hate messages on Sparkslive after winning a few online races in Forza. Nothing unusual so far. There are plenty of idiots like that in online games, except that this guy messaged me from multiple different accounts to call me so sad XD several times, which I just found hilariously ironic. My ex was an avid player of WH40K, the tabletop one, and some other miniature based strategies as well. In his community there was this dude who, upon rolling the dice poorly, losing many units or simply being overpowered, would either shout profanities at the top of his lungs, throw stuff, or simply pack his minis and leave. So there. I know this isn't what you're looking for, but I never get the chance to tell this story. When I was in college, I was the newest, coolest thing. I was a poor college student, so I saved 4 weeks and was finally able to buy one. When I went home for the summer, I brought it with me, and the first night back, I took it over to my sister's house. My sister, her boyfriend, now husband, and I decided to play Wii bowling. I only had 2 controllers, so my future BL, and I decided to share one. After his first round, he said "Squirrel, heads up," and tossed the controller to me. I didn't react in time and I watched the controller fall straight into my glass of wine. The way it fell in was so perfect. It didn't even splash. It didn't even hit the sides of the glass. It was just sploosh, and was sticking out of my glass like a fat straw. It was the most perfect, hilarious thing I have ever seen. If we had videotaped it, it would have looked staged. It was that perfect of a throw. I could not stop laughing. But BL was so upset. He was freaking out and kept insisting he would buy me a new one. I told him it was fine and we could just clean it off. We did that and it worked perfectly. The wine stained the cord purple though, so I always knew which controller fell in the wine. To this day, I still affectionately refer to it as BL's name's controller. It was me. I was the one that lost it. In retrospect, it was a bit over the top. It was in a game of Risk, I was sweeping through Asia, leaving behind one or two in each country as I made my way to Africa. I got all of Asia, and I had the majority of my forces in the Middle East, and I was going to move into Egypt, but I wanted to wait one turn, gather a bigger force. I was about to end my turn when the guy in Egypt proposed a one-turn truce. He said that if I didn't attack him for one turn he would return the favor, and that would allow me to cover my borders with a more even spread. I agreed. We shook hands, and I spread my forces out. It was then his turn. To my utter shock, he gathered everyone he had into Egypt and proceeded to wreck all of my forces in Asia and took me out. That bastard broke his word. I will never trust him again. He said that he regularly does this kind of thing, knowing that he can only do it once. The group of people he plays with, I lost my cool, and Manswo Road is his bond. You know what? That wasn't crazy to be upset. He broke a sacred pact. The handshake. The verbal contract with witnesses. Never again. And that is why I have trust issues. I gamed with an asshole for years, and anytime things didn't go his way in a tabletop RPG he'd throw a tantrum. Picture a middle-aged man who would scream, throw dice, and sometimes stomp away for things like he rolled poorly, he forgot his character had an ability that would have been useful in the previous round of combat, someone tried to be helpful and remind him of one of his character's abilities he forgot about. People tried to split treasure equally, rather than just giving him everything he wanted. Here's the thing, 2 weeks ago I encountered this guy, for only the second time in a year. During the course of our meeting, a hit-and-run driver crashed into his parked car, doing a fair amount of damage to it. Asshole is totally chill about this, and didn't even want to call the police, despite a witness saying they thought the driver was wasted. TL, doctor, I know a guy who will flip out, like he's going to kill you, when he rolls dice poorly, yet is totally zen when someone smashes up his car. Everyone seems to get crazy upset if they are hit by the blue shell in Mario Kart, but it's just part of the game. I'm a bit hazy on the details, but I'll give it a go. Had a friend who back in middle school got into a heated Minecraft argument with his friend. Due to this, his friend burned up his statue of SpongeBob SquareNuts in retaliation. As a result of that, my friend completely severed ties with this freaking dude. My friend unfriended him on Xbox, and as retaliation his friend came over to his house and unfriended everyone on his account. I know this is the most hilariously over the top crap. Friendship was pretty much done there. He didn't talk to him until one day we invited him to our Discord years later, after we were all out of high school for a Civ game. At that point my friend forgot why he stopped talking to him. My wife and I had a poker tourney at our place with about 15 people. After 4 hours only my wife and I were left standing. I had added more chips than her. All the guests left for the night. I start to clean up, but she begins demanding that we finish. I try to explain it's our money, so it doesn't matter, but she won't have it and is visibly upset. I immediately went all in on the next 2 bad hands and basically handed her the money so I could go to bed. We divorced a few years later. Spoons. My grandma is the sweetest thing in this world. She's Mormon, will never hurt anybody, and always sees the good in anyone. But goddamn, she is the most savage person alive when she plays spoons. We were each grabbing for a spoon and we both grabbed the spoon at the same time and she just dug her nails into my hand till I let go. She then looked at me with an innocent smile and said, "Sorry honey." I'll never forget that. This guy doxed me after a Rocket League game, and I said I would post our convo on r/fun. I answered, to which he started looking through my social media and then said I only go to Reddit parties, and I asked him if he wanted to come to a concert I was attending with my friends that night. No response. I had someone throw a passive-aggressive fit in my house while playing Super Smash 4 because the Wii U had the yellow, white, red cables, but no HDMI cord. I was at a Pokemon Go raid and this dude, grown man with a wife and kids, says I'm done with Team Instinct. Seriously, do you see what they did earlier today? Unacceptable. I don't know what our team did to him, but to be done with roughly 1/3 of the players in this game because of something a few people did is pretty absurd. Also, it's a game. Also, I want to clarify I'm not judging him for playing Pokemon as an adult. I'm judging him for getting so butthurt over something like this as an adult. Not particularly upset, but a friend of mine owned a really good spot on Monopoly and he would not sell for any amount of money, not until an offer of 21 $1 bills. When you go to shop I'm a comic book store, while they are playing, they get pissy when they have to deal with a customer. I've had this happen a few times at a local place, where the owner would show out to his buddies, because he had a patron wanting to pay money for goods. I now shop online for my comics. I used to play Risk with a bunch of friends. I was the only female. One guy hated it when I won a few times to the point where he declared that no woman should take over the world. And he spent every game going forward taking me out, even when it meant a loss for him as well. My friend and I used to play Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube after classes at uni occasionally. If we ever played the Metal Harbor stage, and he wasn't the first one to dash the first trail of rings, he'd reset the race every time. DM for Pathfinder here. Made up my own world and story. Basics of my story is I'm trying to make it a lot about the story and sneak based. A guy got mad because he kept running into battle yelling. He actually says has yelling, and I said that the enemies were no longer flat-footed. I know how the rules are read, but I'm saying if someone comes at you yelling, you are prepared for battle, and he got so mad that he left in the middle of a session. Once had a player get mad enough at me to leave a game because I was making things up. I was the DM. Literally my only job is to make things up. Mind you, this wasn't me making up rules or being tricky. Legit. Dude got raggy because I said a wall had been constructed of magical brick that could reconstruct itself when damaged. Playing yes, the card game, online on Xbox 360. I had custom rules set up for the non-ranked game, which allowed you to counter a draw 4 with another draw 4. Forcing the next player to either draw 8 or play a draw 4 if they had won. This resulted in some kid being forced to draw 12 cards. He screamed into his mic, called us all the N-word, and quit the game. His voice sounded like he was maybe 10 years old. Again, we were playing a card game online. My brother was trying out Skyrim, and he got upset that he couldn't buy the home in Whiterun at level 2 with 200 gold, all without killing the dragon. I explained it to him many times, but he rager quit the game and never touched it again. I vetoed his character as soon as he said the word sex trafficker. Kicking my sister's butt in Monopoly every time we play it as a family. She always freaks out when I own all of the major spots and she loses. Be me. Play Overwatch. Be Rianhood main. Enter competitive match. Pick Rianhood. Get asked to switch so somebody else can play Rianhood. Say no. Start getting bitched at. Carry team W/25E/1D15. 000 damage blocked. Get play of the game with 4-man shatter charge off each and walled bridge. Sacrificial for the kills. Or Issa can keep it moving. Get bitched at because got play. I was on Madden 15 playing my first ever online game and some weird British dude was my opponent and was talking over Xbox Live despite me not having a headset. It was only the first drive, but I hit Greg Jennings for a 50-yard touchdown and he paused the game, swore at me for 2 minutes with his British accent, and rage quit 1 minute into the game. This is easy. Was playing at my sister's boyfriend's D&D group. I was one of the new people, with one more person. We'll call him Donald, not real name. Donald played D&D like a spurg. Always tough in. Just a DM nightmare. You know the types. He was a good role player, but got into it way too much. We were having a good time clearing a dungeon, but Donald was a little low. Around 15 HP out of his massive 150-ish HP. He had no death saving left, so we warned him to not go ahead of us. You know what happens the one time we don't check for traps ahead of time. He stepped forward 1 step and fell into an endless void that wasn't visible unless you checked for it. Crap hit the fan. When he processed that he died, he immediately flipped the table. Dice going everywhere, pizza on the walls, and the play area that later heard he spent 3 weeks setting up, the DM has worked on was completely destroyed. It had pizza and stuff all over it, and the play area was made of the really nice 3D D&D stuff, and it was ruined. He got kicked out, and I never saw him ever again. I went to 2 more sessions before college started for them. I think he had autism or Tourette's. I'm uninformed. He was ignoring all social norms is why I think that. I feel bad for Donald. But he fricked up my nice Dyson folder. So frick him. This story is equally embarrassing for both me and my friend. And it's a bit long. But here goes. We are playing Minecraft. There are about 5 of us all on a server together. We built a little town and then struck out to carve our own underwater lairs, or floating castles, or fiery volcanoes, or whatever. I had laid like 1,000 tracks and put my home way out in the ocean somewhere on this tiny island, only reachable by minecart. Anyway, I had just discovered the flint and steel item, which when activated, will light a block on fire. The fire mechanics in the game meant that it would spread to adjacent flammable blocks, like wood or leaves. But then if there were no flammable blocks then the flames would go out. I thought, wow, this is so cool. I'd better show my friend. I traveled by minecart all the way over to my friend's castle, and I told him about this cool item that I had discovered. He was a bit distracted building something, but he told me not to burn any of the trees nearby. I asked if I could go burn a tree over the other side of a nearby river to demonstrate, and he agreed. I went over, set a couple trees on fire, and sat back to watch the cool fire mechanics as the flames spread. Then I got hit by an arrow and died. My friend then said, I told you not to burn any of the trees near my castle. Man, he had shot me because he wasn't actually paying attention to what I was saying, and he thought I had disregarded his instruction. I had just respawned on my isolated island fortress, and because you drop all your items when you die, I had no way of getting back to the main town short of walking. I asked him to at least run a minecart out to me so I could get off the island, and he said no, and then logged off. I was livid. Not only had he killed me for no reason, but now he'd left me stranded. So I hatched a plan. I walked every freaking step of the way back to our central town. It took me around an hour and a half, and I was seething the entire way. I went and crafted as many flint and steel items as I could. Then I went to my friend's castle and I burned down every freaking tree. I stood at each corner of the castle to ensure that 0 trees would be visible from any point within the castle. And then I went and burned a bunch more just in case. My friend, like me, used minecart tracks to get to and from his castle, and at one point the tracks disappeared into a tunnel that you couldn't see into until you were already inside it. My pasty resistance of petty revenge was when I built a lava pit in the tunnel, so if you were on a minecart going full speed you would fall in and die, and all your items would get burnt up and destroyed. Satisfied, I logged off. It was like 2 AM at this point, so I was pretty exhausted. The next day, when I logged in, this particular friend wasn't online, but the others from the server were there. They told me what had happened. My friend, having logged in and seen the devastation I had caused to his trees, was furious. He jumped in a minecart to head back to the central town so he could go and blow up my fortress. He didn't know about the lava pit though, so he fell right into it wearing all of his best gear, carrying all of his best items and resources, and he lost everything. He was screaming, I'm told, for quite a while, just cursing my name and shouting incoherently to the great amusement of our other friends. We didn't talk much for a few days after that, but when I finally explained my side of events he realized he was in the wrong for killing my character in the first place. I admitted that my response was an overreaction too, and we went back to being friends. We didn't play Minecraft after that though, lol. You may have been reading this story and shaking your head and thinking to yourself, wow, these kids take Minecraft pretty seriously. Yeah. The most embarrassing part of this story is that we were, like, 25 years old when this happened. All those folk that got really salty because in a role-playing strategy game, in a fictional society set 1,000 years in the future, you can choose to be addressed as something other than he/him or she/her. Edit, yes, it's BattleTech. Heroes of the Storm. My boyfriend loses all desire to have sex if he loses a couple of games in a row. Me and 3 friends were playing Monopoly while drinking. My friend's GF was winning and rubbing it in his face. At one point he screamed at her, flipped the Monopoly board. All the pieces went flying, and straight up left the apartment. We were left speechless until we burst out laughing. There's a good chance he's reading this too. D&D. So my friend was doing a campaign, and I was a consistent player. My character had a minor crush, stupid teenage love, with a character whose best definition is morally grey. Another person, who didn't like me in real life, would guest star as an edgelord fighter with Takatanus. He made it his mission to kill my character's crush. At one point, there was a large brawl, and my character witnessed him strike my crush. I casted Thunder Wave with the Lodi Sea, but he somehow failed and fell off the roof of the house. He wound up going unconscious from the spell and took falling damage, which led to him failing his first save. When he rolled for his second, he got a 1 and critical failed, which counts as 2 fails. 3 failed saves and you dead. He starts this loud unintelligible screeching, saying I had no reason to do that. I had it out for him. Everything was my fault. He spent hours on that character. He was a huge plot point. Ad infinitum. My friend, the DM, asked me about my motivation for striking an ally, and I explained that my character had feelings for his childhood friend and trusted her more than the ally of a group of mercenaries that he didn't trust in the first place. Seeing him strike his friend would be ample reason to attack. Also, my character wouldn't have any idea how close he was to death without metagaming, something my friend was a stickler about. In the end, his character stayed dead and my character had to work out a deal to earn the trust of the mercs. He wasn't invited back to play. Have a friend who would get mad and rage quit if called out on performing actions or targeting people specifically out of spite or because they had some sort of bias. Like, I know I can be a little bitch talking about rules in a game, but like, I'm not gonna scoop all my cards up and run away because of it. Also, being able to talk about the rules in a meta way is important to the health of the game and the play group MO. Destiny 2, guy was super mad we couldn't complete an encounter in the main raid, and I don't mean frustrated, I mean actually mad off. Just got fired because of someone else's frick up mad off. I could actually hear him punching the damn wall every time we wiped, and he would yell and scream at us. Me, specifically, not because I was causing it to wipe. BTW. Because his taking the game so seriously was incredibly hilarious to me, so I kept laughing when we'd wipe. Me, 30 something, pregnant female who is babysitting a little boy. Him, an 8-year-old boy who just got Madden for Christmas. He must have wanted to show off, because he asked me to play and told me all about how his touch football team plays. It was fine, until he started talking smack. Big smack about me being a don't know sports dummy, who was proper cheerleading girl. Oh, no, you don't know me. You don't know that I played Madden for all of middle school. NG I demolished him. Now, I played fair, never trash talked, and didn't rub it in. But he still had to take a break to his room to get something. But I heard him crying. Poor guy. I suggested that we play something else and got him back in good spirits. He came back out and suggested we play another game. Had I ever heard of GoldenEye? TTH. Not really crazy, but my friend was once playing Risk. I suppose it was a particularly long game and he got bored. So he shouted AIDS and took his arm and wiped out the entire board. No one plays with him anymore. People getting upset over women being on video game box art. An old friend of mine once told me how he had a character that had a strong sense of smell, and it was useful as all hell when hustling up money in the early game. But as soon as he hit his first magical creature, it all went south. He got chronic gas, and it dazed him to the point of mental exhaustion, and he had to sleep a lot. He lost his ability to sniff out bad guys, money, steal, which meant there was a big mob ahead, and his gas gave away his position a lot. Villagers didn't want him in town unless he paid double. It was also hard for him to bargain because he mad off store owners with his stench. Further down the line he got to a boss fight, which was amazing to me, and the boss had a sleep roll he had to pass every time he finished a combat roll against him. He had to roll above a 18 on a 20-sided die. He did it, but the mental exhaustion timer had hit, and he got assassinated. GM added a little salt to the wound by saying he released death farts. I have always wanted to play D&D, since I heard how wild the crap gets, but IDK if anyone in my area even plays it like that.